The American government cannot function without China and other nations buying U.S. Treasury notes and financing our wars and even our Social Security payments. But the debt is now out of hand. It looks like, if things go as the Congressional Budget Office predicts, that in 10 years, we will have a federal debt of something like $20 trillion. The federal government will be in debt, $20 trillion. This indebtedness kind of makes all of the solutions that are proposed compound the problem that already exists. For example, if more money is spent to stimulate the economy, down the line, that debt, which we have to accumulate to, for present economic stimulation, will come back as inflation. Okay? So what repairs the short-term problem creates problems down the road. The inflation that will be created down the road will probably lead to another period of stagnation in the economy. Therefore, it is not like the 1930s. The potential is worse, a longer period of stagnation. The other thing, globalization. Globalization has made it more difficult to solve this economic crisis, because what is happening is that while so many jobs are being shipped out of the United States, there is no possibility on the grounds of current economic life to stimulate job-producing projects. For example, let's talk about General Motors. They now want and are pushing General Motors towards bankruptcy, going into bankruptcy. The reason a big corporation like General Motors goes into bankruptcy is to reorganize, but when they say reorganize, basically to attack the wages, benefits, and health care of the workers of GM. A push or rush to the bottom. And if the GM workers don't accept these terms, GM will move its plants out of the country. Now, I'll come back to that in a minute. So this is worse. But the other thing that I'd like to say is that we're going to have to stop speaking of this as a recession. This is not like 1957-58. This is not even like 1980-81 or 91-92. These were recessions. The economy went down. It's what they call a V. It goes down and comes up. This will be a long period of stagnation. Now, gangster capitalism and the capitalist crisis. There is clearly a gangster element to all of this. The gangsters came to the fore in particular with the collapse of the Soviet Union and the robbery of state resources by a group of what they call gangster oligarchs. And they're taking those stolen funds from the old Soviet economy and putting them in Western banks. This was capital that the banks in the West could play with. And they did play with it. They created derivatives. They used other kind of interesting, to use their language, ways of making money off of paper. But gangsters in the Soviet Union robbed that country, and the robbed money was put in Western banks. But that is not unlike the gangsters that run the cocaine trade.
No doubt.
Be they in Colombia, Mexico, Jamaica, or wherever. Well, hold on. But the money, yes, it's true that some of that money reached Wall Street. But a lot of it was deposited in banks in South Florida. If you look at the skyline of Miami and South Miami, that's produced by cocaine money. So the underground gangster economy is a part of the new financial system that we see in the world today. At the same time, a lot of these funds were used to build plants and so on in China, Indonesia, Vietnam, and in Eastern Europe. The reason plants were built there, you know, almost everything you buy is from Asia these days, and a good part of it is from China, because of super exploited labor. Thus you have a new global system. America and England in particular deindustrialized. China and Asia, India, Vietnam industrialized. In America and England, you have a free market system. In China and India and Vietnam, you have state capitalism. In China, Vietnam, and India and other Asian countries, you have tight, repressive control of labor. And in the United States, you have the Walmartization of the U.S. economy. In other words, American wages are kept low. Americans are forced to live on credit. But Americans are told that they can still afford things, commodities, because they're being produced in cheap labor places like China and Vietnam. And they are being sold at Walmarts. We call that the Walmartization of the U.S. economy. Now, this system has produced unheard of imbalances in the global economy. A tremendous concentration of wealth in a few hands. Some estimates are that 250 families in the world control upwards of 50% of the world's wealth. These super billionaires in the United States, in England, in Russia, in the Gulf states, the oil-producing Gulf states, while increasingly millions and millions of people, for that matter billions of people, are living on $1 a day. Growing poverty and the growing concentration of wealth. This is the bubble that we're talking about.